In today's video, I will show you how to use the News API. This is what the final result would look like once you have everything set up. I'm just using a free program called Postman to easily make API calls. But once you have everything set up, you can just make the API request, and now we can see back all of the information from the News API. As you can see here in this example API call, we are getting back news articles that relate to Tesla. And we get information such as the author of the news article, the title, description, URL, and image. So to begin the process of making your own news API call, the first thing we need to do is to get an API key, which we can do by going back to the page I was just at, which is newsapi.org. Once you're on this page, just click on this button that says Get API Key, and you should now see a page similar to this. Go ahead and fill out all of the information, and once you're done, just hit Submit. And now it will tell you your API key, and just go ahead and copy it. Before we make any API calls, we will just look at the documentation to see what API calls the News API offers. If we look at the left-hand side, we can see there's two endpoints that I'll be going over in this tutorial, which are the Everything endpoint as well as the Top Articles endpoint. I will now show the example API call that I made at the beginning of this tutorial, which was the Everything endpoint that you see here. Once you're on this page, we can actually just copy the route here, and this specific documentation actually includes the API key that's specifically for our account already, so we can just copy it. Once we have it copied, we can just open up Postman and just make a new route and just paste it in here. And now if we hit send, you should now see all of the news articles that relate to Bitcoin for this specific example. Just like the example at the beginning of this tutorial, we now get back all the information for various articles that relate to Bitcoin, such as the author of the article, the title, the description, the URL, and even the image. The next API call I want to show you is the other endpoint that I talked about previously, which is the top articles endpoint here. Just click on that. Once you're on this page, we can do the same thing where we just copy the URL here, go back to Postman and make another call and make sure it says get. And this endpoint will get us the top news articles in the country that we specify, which is currently the US. And so if I hit send, I can now see various articles that relate to what we specified in the URL here. If we look back at the documentation, we can also see there's a category query parameter that we can pass in to get specific news articles about business, entertainment, general health, and all these other categories that you see here. So we can add this to our API call by going back to Postman and adding another key, and it'll just be category, just like the documentation specified. And for the value, I'll just do science, and now I'll hit send. And now all the results should show us news articles that relate to the science category. Now you know how to make API calls to a News API. In the next section of this tutorial, I will now show you how to use the News API in a React project. I will also assume you have a basic understanding of React. Now we'll switch over to the React project. As you see here, we now display each news article from the News API. We display the title, the news article image, the description for the news article, and if we click on the link, we will go directly to the news site. If we go back to the React application, we just scroll down. Right now I'm just showing 10, but you can pick how many you want to show. Now I'll show you the React code for this project. This is what it looks like. And I will make sure to also leave a link in the description where you can copy the code exactly and just modify it however you want for your own project. I left some comments explaining the code, but the most important line is probably line 24 here, where we're actually making the API call to the News API. Right now, I'm displaying articles that relate to inflation, but if we want to do what I had in the example, you could just switch this to Bitcoin and just hit save. Now, if we go back to the React project, you can see the news articles change and they now all relate back to Bitcoin. This is the end of the tutorial. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how the News API works and how you could use it in your own projects. If this tutorial helped you in any way, please like the video and don't forget to subscribe for more content.